Why is it that when we actually can read bits and pieces of these shooters' manifestos and we can find information that shows what their motivations are and why they are, and we can even find where they get them from, people like Tucker, people like Ben, people like Lauren Southern, people like the Quartering, people like them will always try to pass the buck back on to leftists. All right, so hopefully everybody can understand that we will not be showing fan art on this particular video. I may not be the best at judging which videos should or should not include fan art. Usually most of them do. But when it comes to a mass shooting, I think I'm comfortable not showing that at all on a video like this. This is a bit far from what I'm comfortable with. If that is okay with everybody, then we will move on from there. Okay? Now, there's another thing that I want to get off my chest before we start this. There's a lot of stuff we're going to be going over. We're not just going to be looking at an article about the shooting, though that will certainly be how we open things in so we have full context for everything that's going on. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes into this besides just a shooting. As much as I would like to say that this is just one in a series of mass shootings that happen in the United States, it's a bit more than that this time. It's a little bit more than that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the article itself. We're going to grab from Associated Press real quick and take a look and see what we can find in the article itself. 10 dead in a Buffalo supermarket attack. Police are calling a hate crime. I think you'll find that it was, in fact, that when we get through all the information we have so far. Article begins saying, Buffalo, New York, a white 18-year-old wearing military gear and live streaming with a helmet camera opened fire with a rifle at a supermarket in Buffalo. He was streaming to Twitch, by the way. He was streaming the shooting to Twitch, which, by the way, is the plot of Ben Shapiro's fucking movie, Run, Hide, Fight. Literally. That is the plot of his movie. But let's continue. Killing 10 people and wounding 3 others Saturday in what authorities described as racially motivated violent extremism. Police say he shot 11 black and 2 white victims before surrendering to authorities in a rampage that he broadcasted live on Twitch. Later, he appeared before a judge in a paper medical gown and was arraigned on a murder charge. It is my sincere hope that this individual, this white supremacist who just perpetrated a hate crime on an innocent community, will spend the rest of his days behind bars, and heaven help him in the next world as well, says Governor Kathy Hochul, speaking near the scene of the attack. The massacre sent shockwaves through an unsettled nation gripped with racial tensions, gun violence, and a spat of hate crimes. In the day prior to the shooting, Dallas police say that they were investigating a series of shootings in Koreatown as hate crimes. The Buffalo attack came just 1 month after another mass shooting on a Brooklyn subway wounded 10 people. This is an everyday occurrence in the United States, unfortunately. And we need to actually have conversations about realistic policies that can help with this. I am pro-gun ownership, but I'm pro-responsible gun ownership, and there's certainly a lot of ways that we can be fixing the situation as it stands. For one, gun shows would probably be a good way to stop this, but awkwardly, a lot of firearms that people own that they do crimes with are legally owned firearms. The suspected gunman in Saturday's attack on Tops Friendly Market was identified as Peyton Gendron of Conklin, New York, about 200 miles southeast of Buffalo. He drove 200 miles to do this. 200 miles to kill just a bunch of black people. Yes, there were a couple of white people who got killed as well, but we'll go ahead and call that collateral damage when we start going through the manifesto. It wasn't immediately clear why Peyton had traveled to Buffalo and that particular grocery store. A clip apparently from his Twitch feed posted on social media showed Gendron arriving at the supermarket in his car. The gunman shot 4 people outside of the store, 3 fatally, said the Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia. Inside the store, security guard Aaron Salter, a retired Buffalo police officer, fired multiple shots. A bullet hit the gunman's bulletproof armor but had no effect. Boy, howdy. I hope your good guy with a gun narrative dies when you actually look at the details of what happened. Oh no, if only a good guy with a gun was there. You mean like the good guy with the gun that was there and it didn't fucking do anything? Okay, cool. Glad we had this conversation. Dipshit, who's probably speaking in the comment section right now. The gunman then killed the guard, the commissioner said, then stalked through the store, shooting other victims. Police entered the store and confronted the gunman in the vestibule. He put his rifle to his own neck, but 2 officers talked him into dropping the gun. So here's the thing, you can't even threaten these types of people with the death penalty, because generally speaking, mass shooters just kill themselves. They do the thing, and then they kill themselves. So what the fuck is the death penalty supposed to do? It's not a deterrent, obviously. But okay. Is there anything in this clip that they have here? Video's unavailable. Okay. Said, this is the worst nightmare that any community can face, and we are hurting and we are seething right now, Buffalo Mayor Brian Brown said at the news conference. The depth of pain that families are feeling and that all of us are feeling right now cannot even be explained. Twitch said in a statement that it ended the transmission less than 2 minutes after the violence started. A law enforcement official told the Associated Press that investigators were looking into whether he had posted a manifesto online. The official was not permitted to speak publicly on the matter and did so on the condition of anonymity. Buffalo police declined to comment on the document circulating widely online that purports to outline the attacker's racist, anti-immigrant, and anti-Semitic beliefs, including a desire to drive all people not of European descent from the United States. It is said he drew inspiration from the man who killed 51 people at 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. This person is a copycat artist to the Christchurch shooter. At the earliest news briefing, Erie County Sheriff John Garcia pointedly called the shooting a hate crime. Said it was pure evil, it's straight up racially motivated. Is there anything else in here that we need going forward? President Biden said in a statement that he and the First Lady were praying for the victims. Not that that does a whole lot, but good thoughts, I suppose. We still need to learn more about the motivation for today's shooting as law enforcement does its work. But we don't need anything else to state a clear moral truth. A racially motivated hate crime is abhorrent to the very fabric of this nation. I'm sure maybe if the fabric hadn't been founded on slavery, maybe. Any act of domestic terrorism, including an act perpetuated in the name of a repugnant white nationalist ideology, is antithetical to everything we stand for in America. See, that's a better statement. The fabric of America versus what we stand for in America. One of these is an acceptable statement. Tops Friendly Market released a statement saying, we're shocked and deeply saddened by the senseless act of violence, and our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and the families. I'm sure they do. The shooting came a little more than a year after the March 2021 attack at King Soopers grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, that also killed 10 people. Investigators have not released any information about why they believe the man charged in the attack targeted the supermarket. All right, so let's go ahead and get some things out of the way. First of all, we have another article to look at. The suspect in the Buffalo shooting was investigated last year over a threat. Okay, let's take a look at this. An 18-year-old white man is accused of opening fire Saturday at a supermarket in Buffalo, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others. We already know about that. 2 law enforcement officials told the Washington Post that the suspect in the case, Peyton Gendron, was investigated less than a year ago by state police after they received a report that he'd made a threatening statement at his high school. A state police spokesman didn't confirm the name, but said that a student at the high school was taken into custody on June 8th and evaluated at a mental hospital, but he was not charged. On Saturday, Gendron was arrested and charged in connection with the shooting in Buffalo. He pled not guilty and is being held without bail. Authorities say that Gendron drove to Buffalo and carried out the shooting at Tops Friendly Market using an assault weapon while dressed in tactical gear and live streaming online. After shooting people in the parking lot and inside the store, that's all information that we already know. The mass shooting is the deadliest so far of 2022, according to data from the nonprofit Gun Violence Drive. It is also the latest massacre in recent years carried out by perpetrators allegedly driven by hate and racism. Okay, so none of that is new. That's basically just stating what the Associated Press article said already. Let's go ahead and take a moment to breathe, because I'm sure everybody needs a bit of a break before we continue on with everything. Before we go into the manifesto itself, we need to talk about the Great Replacement Theory. Now, if you don't know what the Great Replacement Theory is, it is the theory that white people are going to be fucked out of existence by people of color. The definition of somebody who is white is constantly changing. At some points, Asians can be white. At some points, Irish people can be white. And if white people feel like they're oppressed enough, then they can be white. But if they don't feel oppressed enough, then they suddenly become not white, so that white people can pretend to be the minority at all times and then claim that people having sex with them is making their genes unpure, as if the only way to have pure genes is to be literally 6th century monarchy or also Alabama. One of the two. Either or. Tranky points out Lauren Southern and Jacob Wall promoted it. Yes, they did, but they are not the biggest names that have perpetrated them. You see, here's the thing with Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern is big in the politics sphere. On the political side of YouTube, we all know who Lauren Southern is. All of them, because we all know what Blaze Media is, and we all know about shit like this on the side of YouTube. But what about the people who are just at home? What about the people who are just sitting at home and turning on their TVs and watching television? They don't exist terminally online on the internet, on the politics side of YouTube and Twitter, as unhealthy as that is for all of us. They don't do that. They don't know who Lauren Southern is. So when you say the Great Replacement Theory, they might actually know who is saying that, though. You want to know where you'll find those things being said?
Of course, you're not working to import as many new citizens as we can into the United States to replace all the disobedient ones who didn't vote for us. In other words, you're being replaced, and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up. The Great Replacement Theory, it's a lie, they yell. George Soros has nothing to do with that. Stop talking. They said we were espousing something called the Great Replacement Theory, a well-known racist fantasy. The Great Replacement. They acknowledge that it's real, and they love it. This policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries. The Great Replacement Plan is working. Of course, you're not working to import as many new citizens.
So I have a question. Tucker. For those who don't know, Tucker Carlson is the most watched individual man in television where news broadcasting is concerned. There is not a single named individual who is watched more than Tucker. If we are going to be consistent in rightfully blaming people like Lauren Southern for perpetrating the Great Replacement myth, Tucker is just as responsible. I thought those pickup lines were bad that I heard Tucker's face. And it's not just there. When he has J.D. Vance on...
You realize this is not bad policy. These people are doing it by design. It's good policy from their very warped perspective because they are accomplishing the invasion of the country that they should love, but of course they don't. And you have to ask yourself who's benefiting from this and who's getting rich from it. And there's two big answers. First of all, Chamber of Commerce style Republicans and Democrats who love the cheap labor, who love the fact that these immigrants are displacing America's workers, but also Democrat politicians who have decided that they can't win re-election in 2022 unless they bring in a large number of new voters to replace the voters that are already here. That's what this is about. We have an invasion in this country because very powerful people get richer and more powerful because of it. It's not bad policy, it's evil, and we need to call it that.
I couldn't agree with you more. J.D. Vance.
The Great Replacement, as a fucked up kooky theory, takes many forms. And one of them is that immigrants come in, displace your citizenry, and then breed with themselves, like rabbits, or with your citizenry, also like rabbits, to create a replacement stock of population. Tucker doesn't challenge things like this because he purports them on his own channel. Well, I mean, it's not his channel because it's not YouTube. It's Fox News, but he's the most watched person there. Oh, but don't worry. Ben Shapiro is here to tell us that actually, no, despite evidence that it's people like Lauren Southern and people like, Republicans and pundits on the right side of politics, despite it being them who are constantly shouting about the great replacement theory and even mass shootings happening because of right-wing oriented assholes, Ben Shapiro comes in to go, so just to get this straight, the left argues that demographics are destiny, and that demographics change in America will inevitably lead to a progressive majority, and it's the Republicans who are supposed to be echoing the great replacement theory. Take that, liberals. So we have Ben Shapiro here saying, actually, no, it's the Democrats who are pushing the great replacement theory, this thing that literally leads to people attempting small-scale genocides. Of course, that's what Ben would do. That he has 3 brain cells that are working very hard, and he's gifted one so generously to his sister so that she could start her channel. No wonder he's so oxygen deprived in the brain. Oh, but don't worry, Ben Shapiro. We're going to be taking a look at the actual manifesto to see the motivations of the individual speaker. But before we go and do that, we need to turn back to Fox News and see what they blame for the shooting. Because when we look at the manifesto, I mean, it's not super clear. We know racially motivated and everything else, but what does Fox News say about it? Well, you can take a guess. Let me know in the comment section below before you start what you think Fox News is going to blame for this. But if you've been around the block as long as I have and know the name Jack Thompson,
I think of, what must go through the minds of these people, like the guy yesterday who's accused of shooting up that supermarket. He's 18 years old. His whole life was in front of him, and now his life essentially is over because of what he decided to do. Do they not think about this before they open fire? Are they so wrapped up in themselves, as you say, so psychopathic that nothing else matters to them?
Well, let's see what the answer is.
You'd have to have a conscience to feel that way. And so, no, there's not. It's a blind obsession. It lacks empathy. Thus, it makes them so incredibly dangerous.
I wonder, it seems like these things have gotten so much worse since video games became so realistic and so violent.
Always, we go back to it's the video games. Despite countless studies showing that no, video games do not cause violence in individuals. But don't worry, Fox News, instead of blaming itself for being one of the networks that propagate things like the Great Replacement Theory, that when we look at the manifesto, you'll see is definitely part of, oh yeah, anti-Semitism's in there too, I forgot. The idea is that this is all manufactured by the Jews. I forgot that that was a thing as well. But ever since Columbine, we have been seeing right-leaning dipshits constantly blame video games, video game violence in one form or another, for why people do things, instead of actually looking at the motivations of the individual shooters that cause these things and find that most of the time, no, it's not them trying to go and reenact Call of Duty. It's not them trying to go and say, well, I liked doing it in Halo and Fortnite, so I did it in real life too, and it was just as fun. When do I get to respawn, sir? That's not what happens. Most people, even most people who are not super well adjusted, know the difference between a video game and reality. And countless studies show that no, video games do not cause violent tendencies in people. But okay, what else is there to say from Fox News here?
Have you done research or, learned that video games tend to just desensitize people to the actual results of pulling a trigger?
God, he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to actually get it out. It's almost like he knows how fucking absurd it is that he's saying this, but he's like, man, I gotta do it. It can't possibly be anything that our network showed. Can't possibly be that. Can't possibly be the very charismatic, literally most viewed person on television. It can't be things he said. We pay him. And if we didn't pay him, then how would he survive on his multi-million-dollar cushion of TV dinners from Swanson?
I think in terms of causation, what the information shows us is that as we become more disfranchised, as individuals and groups, people leave a faith, for example, the family units become smaller or more disconnected. Okay.
So hold on. Before we go further, it's people leaving religion. that means that they go and cause mass shootings. Oh, but if it's not that, it's the destruction of the nuclear family unit that leads to mass shootings, despite there being plenty of countries that don't emphasize the nuclear family unit anywhere near as much as we try to do in the United States, and yet they don't have the same mass shooting problem. I wonder why that would be. But go on, Queen.
We live at further distances, and we're communicating through a medium that was never really intended as a human being, which is online or through texting or these kind of things. We get separated as humans to have that connection that builds, I would say, an inner morality. But all of that aside, there's things that we know that if we have areas where we congregate as in groups, we have large retail locations, we have large churches, there's things we can do in anticipation from this anomalous event, which still is rare in the US, even though it's increasing. And there's things.
It's rare? It happens every fucking day. Wait, rare? What definition do you use for rare for a mass shooting? Hold on. In 2022, there have been 198 mass shootings as of 2 days ago. In 19 weeks, that means there have been 10 mass shootings a week. Anomalous? Rare? Bullshit, sir. This is neither anomalous nor rare. This is frequent. If we want to talk about desensitization through things like video games or things like atomization of society, can we talk about the desensitization to the idea of a mass shooting happening in the United States? People are frankly becoming fucking numb to it. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. We still haven't dove in to the actual manifesto. Now, this compilation of shots from the manifesto has been curated by @sock_dem on Twitter. They are right here. If you want to go give them a follow, please consider doing so. I do not know them. I do not know much about them, but I do know that they did compile all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at some choice takeaways from the manifesto itself and elsewhere. The manifesto actually has an About Me section. Let's take a look at it. My name is Peyton Gendron. I was born on June 20th, 2003, which makes me 18 years old as of writing this. I am the sole proprietor of the recent attempted mass shooting. I lived in Southern Tier, New York all my life with both of my parents and 2 brothers. Really? It was the broken family unit that did it? Dude had a family around him all the fucking time. But don't worry, it was the broken family unit. Mr. Person who didn't do a single ounce of goddamn research on Fox News. I believe I am ethnically white since my parents' nationalities are from Northwestern Europe and Italy. I graduated high school with a Regents diploma with advanced designation and am currently enrolled in SUNY Broome with a major in engineering science. I would love to continue this, but there are bigger problems I'm more concerned with. I'm not a war fighter, nor have I been enrolled in any military or tactical training, so excuse any mistakes I make during my attack. I was never diagnosed with a mental disability or disorder, and I believe to be perfectly sane. Recently, I took an MBTI test as seen below. Architect. Okay, cool. So, answers to people's supporters and questions from the manifesto. What are reviews? Well, I would prefer to call myself a populist, but you can call me an ethno-nationalist, eco-fascist, national socialist if you want. I wouldn't disagree with you. So an ethno-nationalist, eco-fascist, who would also say that he's a Nazi. He then has this section in the manifesto itself about Jews, because the Great Replacement theory hinges on the idea that this has all been orchestrated by Jews so that white people can be eliminated from the populace. What the fuck is an ethno-nationalist eco-fascist? Sure. Let's break that word down bit by bit. Ethno, centering on one's race. Nationalist, centering on the glorification of one's country above other countries and even the self. Eco-fascist, somebody who wants to make the world better, who definitely likes nature, wants to de-industrialize things, unatomize people, etc. Basically, the things technology has done bad, so we do that. And then you go to fascist, somebody who is a palingenetic ultranationalist. Palingenesis being the idea of rebirth through strength, and, well, nationalism, the rebirth through strength is done through the glorification of of one's own country. And if he's an ethno-nationalist, then one's own country and race. Does that explain every single one of those awkward words that are jumbled together? Because when you put them all together, they do paint a pretty accurate idea of an individual like this. Yeah, it's always the Jews, apparently. But let's go ahead and read here. He says in here, the elite, the 1%, the bankers, the capitalists. He then uses the echoes, the them, the Marxists. They all refer to the same group, the Jews. When referring to the Jews, I don't mean all ethnic or religious Jews. Some can actually be decent and make significant progress to humanity. However, many of them are not. This is the same argument people make against black people, by the way. Literally, it's the same fucking thing. Many are born to exploit the goyim and exploit the earth for capital gain. They control the mainstream media, many government positions, and international and global banking. This is why when I say that Alex Jones saying, the globalists, he's actually being a fucking anti-Semitic dog. They advocate for leftist ideology and spread propaganda among the right. They spread their lies through all forms of media. They want us to divide ourselves by race. As a leftist, no, the fuck I don't. Instead of goy and non-goy. So instead of dividing us by what he wants, which is Jews and non-Jews, or also known as enemies and friends, he would rather do this. Remember the 6 million, goyim? The real war I'm advocating for is the Gentiles versus the Jews. We outnumber them 100 times, and they are not strong by themselves. But by their Jewish ways, they turn us against each other. When you realize this, you will know that the Jews are the biggest problem the Western world has ever had. They must be called out and killed. If they are lucky, they will be exiled, but we can't show any sympathy towards them again. So yes, Nazi works. Nazi definitely works as a descriptor for this individual. I don't know how often I have to point out that several of these conspiracy theories loop back onto anti-Semitism. But don't worry, Mr. Dipshit over at Fox News, it's definitely the video game's fault. And don't worry, Ben Shapiro, actual person who says that he understands the ethical or the ethnic trauma of the Holocaust, while also being Jewish himself. Don't worry, it's definitely the Democrats that cause all of this. Definitely. It's definitely them. Don't look behind the curtain any. Could be kind of awkward if you did. He then has a bunch of stuff posted here. Again, this is why his manifesto is 198 pages. He's got a lot of infographics here. Things like at the height of American slavery, 78% of slave owners were ethnic Jews. 40% of the Jewish population were slave owners, while only 0.35% of white Americans owned slaves. So this is something that is easily debunkable. Literally, all you have to do is take a cursory look at American history. And if you want to call everybody who owned slaves in American history Jewish, then you descended from them. So I guess that makes you also Jewish. At this point, Jew means fucking nothing. It just means somebody you don't like. But let's continue. We have these other bits of information here that's all fucking infographics. Jews will not be removed peacefully. Jews can only be removed by force. He's even got another page here, the smart Jew myth, a lie propagated by Jews for the benefit of Jews. He has a call in here to IQ, which, you know, if you know anything about the bell curve theory, we already know is basically bunking bullshit. But Dr. Lin tested them and got high results. No, Lin processed data from other tests. China boosts their IQ measurement by testing only their richest and their best, then pretending the results are typical of the whole nation. Remember, he doesn't want to talk about ethnic division between people, only Jews and non-Jews, but he'll definitely insert things that have ethnic divisions outside of that because it's convenient, because it doesn't matter if any of these ideologies have any legs whatsoever. All that matters is that these ideologies are appealing to somebody who wants to be a perpetual victim. He then has a bit in here about cryptocurrency. Crypto is completely based on the greater fool theory. As long as there is a sucker willing to spend their fiat money on it, it will have value. I can't explain it better than a Jacobin mag article. The entirety of cryptocurrency is a scam, a fraud, a Ponzi scheme, and a waste of money. So it's not that I entirely disagree with that statement, but it is there. His manifesto ends with goodbye, God bless you all, and I hope to see you in Valhalla. Oh, but don't worry, it was definitely a lack of faith that led to this too. Mr. Fox News dipshit who doesn't do an ounce of research before doing anything. Remember what you have to save. It almost makes me feel like Synthwave was a mistake because of people doing that. Oh, but don't worry. It's not just people like Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson and all of them that are playing hard to get ball with this ideology. We have the quartering as well. The shooter in Buffalo was an authoritarian leftist who hated Fox News. Source, his own words. Dude was closer to Vosh than Tucker Carlson, despite repeating things that Tucker Carlson fucking said. But, you know, this is why they won't publish the entire manifesto. But, you know, don't worry. Of all people, we actually have a bit here from Hunter Avalon, who grabbed a bit from the manifesto. When he was 12, he was deep into communist ideology. Talk to anybody from his old high school and ask about them, and you'll hear that. From age 15 to 18, however, I consistently moved further to the right. On the political compass, I fall in the mild, moderate, authoritarian left category, and I would prefer to be called a populist. Were your beliefs given to you by your family? No, politics was never discussed. Who do you consider white? Those who are ethnically, culturally European, so on and so forth. So the quartering is basically using, not his own words, mind you, but he's using the results he got from the routinely inaccurate political compass tests to say, no, it's the leftists. It's the leftists. It has to be the leftists. Tucker wants you to think that. Ben wants you to think that. The quartering wants you to think that. All of them do. And the ways they get people to believe that are myriadly fucking stupid. Oh, but don't worry. Republican lawmaker in Arizona, Wendy Rogers, certainly has some thoughts on the idea. Fed Boy Summer has started in Buffalo because what's a mass shooting without some dipshit coming in and saying, aha, look at this false flag that the government is going to use so that they can confiscate your guns. Despite there being 198 mass shootings, and those conversations haven't been started this year, nor last year, nor the year before that, nor any fucking year in the United States. Oh, but don't worry. It's definitely the Democrats. Oh, we should probably go ahead and take a look at this particular Arizona lawmaker. Wendy, I'm actually kind of curious. What type of theories do you believe in that make you think things like these false flag theory? Oh, god damn it. Oh, fucking shite. Here we are again. Holy god shit. It's like fucking clockwork. It's like fucking clockwork. Every goddamn time, every time we manage to get back to this great replacement theory with evidence that people like Tucker Carlson are the ones propagating it, and here we are. I think you would agree that Carlson is at least partially responsible for the Buffalo Massacre and literally any other racially motivated thing that happens in the United States that is on the back of that theory? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I think he should be legally held responsible? That is a very hard question to answer. But do I think that blood is on his hands? Abso-fucking-lutely. 110%. There is no bone in my body that thinks that Tucker does not put his paycheck above the lives of others. Why is it that when we actually can read bits and pieces of these shooters' manifestos and we can find information that shows what their motivations are and why they are, and we can even find where they get them from, people like Tucker, people like Ben, people like Lauren Southern, people like the Quartering, people like them will always try to pass the buck back on to leftists. So no, yes, absolutely, he's at least an accessory under the law. No, he's not. We don't have very many ways of prosecuting lone wolf terrorism because of its stochastic nature. Legally, he can be held accountable. I don't think he can. Without a call to action, that's the thing the United States requires. In the United States, generally speaking, if you do not have a call to action, somebody being motivated by an ideology that you perpetrate is not enough to actually get you. And also, Tucker has the legal defense of nobody can take the things he says seriously legally. That was ruled in the court of law. Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest? What can he be held accountable for then? Guess what? In the United States, nothing. And the Buffalo shooting, he can. Carlson's comments were a direct inspiration. Even if that's true, the United States legal system is not equipped to handle that. we put too much of a shrine on free speech, or at least a particular interpretation of free speech, for that to work in a court of law. If Tucker gets taken to court for this, which he won't, he would just get away with it. He has the money for a great lawyer, and people subscribe to the, well, I don't agree with what you say, but I will defend with my everything, your right to say it, without thinking that words actually have consequences. It is very difficult, borderline impossible, to prosecute stochastic terrorism in the United States. He can't hide behind being a journalist. Even Carlson admits he's not. He's a shock jock at best, but yeah, money buys freedom from criminal charges. That, and again, he's got the legal defense. He literally has the legal defense if you can't take him seriously. Fox has already gone to court about this. They paid the legal fees to give him that defense. Well, he's not going to pull an Alex Jones because he's smarter than Alex Jones. I know it's a low bar to clear, but I also think it's true. So Alex Jones used the same defense. What Alex Jones did was different, though, Sarah. In Alex Jones's case, he was literally harassing individuals. He was doing boots on the ground shit. Tucker stays comfortably in his office and just talks on his show. They would be prosecuted for different things. But that's the thing. When stuff like this happens, watch for the buck to be passed. Every single time. We have a tragedy that happens, and there's a cycle. Who can we pin the blame on to make it not look like the people who actually fucking inspired this stuff? And then when we're not doing that, let's go ahead and then move forward into the thoughts and prayers cycle repeat. Nothing actually happens. Nothing gets fixed. Nothing changes when it comes to mass shootings in the United States. Even Fox News admitted that they are on the rise and getting worse. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter if this individual listened to Tucker specifically. Anyone perpetuating the theory is complicit. Because when you perpetuate that theory, you spread it more and more. And then it ends up on poll and Chan boards where people take it, radicalize, and go perform fucking shootings. Constantly. That is the cycle in the United States. Is it more likely that Fox was reflecting or that they didn't do their research? Both. It's both deflecting. They likely didn't think, yeah, Tucker probably said that once or twice. And also, shit, we have to throw this elsewhere. I think it's a combination of trying not to be held accountable for hosting that shit themselves, and also not doing any research at all. They're not journalists. Even Tucker's not. Ex-President Angry Cheeto Head used to gloat about nobody dying in Afghanistan. I bet Carlson is desperately working to separate himself from that murder right now just in case. Nope. He's probably sitting pretty right now thinking about the ways he's going to spin this to be the Democrats. I doubt there's any shitting in his pants happening at all. I think he thinks he's invincible. The worst part is, as far as prosecutions are considered in the United States, he basically is. But I don't know how to close out a video like this. I'm more angry than anything. I've been putting this off for the last 8 hours and 50 minutes of the stream because I did not know how to approach this particular topic, nor do I know how to close it out. All I can communicate is anger, disgust, and I don't know what else. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. That's all I got. Insert end of video tagline here.